Hey everybody, Brian Von Vier here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today we're going to be talking about the best way that you saw a DM shut down that player. New DM at the time of running a homebrew Pathfinder campaign. That guy was playing your typical dwarf fighter and constantly arguing for minutes at a time that his stone cunning acted as tremor sense. As a new DM, I did make the mistake of not looking up stone cunning and let it go on the first session. After that session, my friend messaged me with the screen grab of the actual ability. Okay, cool. Next session, I explain I made a mistake and stone cunning will not work that way. Cue the arguing for 6 2-hour-long sessions. Now, to appease him, I did give him an item after a boss fight that did give him tremor sense, but it was cursed. Upon attuning to the item, it would dull all of his physical senses. I did let the rest of the party know, just so they wouldn't think I'm picking on a single player, and they were cool with it. That guy attuned to the item, but nobody passed the DC to detect the curse. The rest of the party all muted themselves because they were about to piss themselves laughing. 2 sessions later, that guy finally catches on that he is constantly being surprised by enemies despite doing tremor sense rolls. He asks why I'm being a bad DM. I'm not. You're just not seeing or hearing them. Another 2 sessions and that guy goes down to a surprise attack from a boss arachnid. Not dead, but he is making death saves. Cleric stabilized him but left him unconscious. The rest of the party kills the boss, then bring him back up. As you wake up, you realize the arachnid has broken the medallion that gave you tremor sense. But also, you can feel every detail and everything you are touching again. That guy goes silent for a good 15 minutes. The other players, well, they muted again. He finally says, wait, I can feel everything again? Yeah, like you have your sense of touch back. You're a dick. Don't try to bullshit a new DM just because you think they don't know anything. I had done my research on every part of each player's character sheets to know what I needed to at this point. That guy didn't show up for 2 sessions. Then I get a message from him. Hey, I was a dick and I'm sorry. Can I come back? Well, you were never kicked out. Next session is in 2 hours. That guy came back and apologized to the whole group and surprised me by actually being respectful. 2 bosses later, I gave him a true medallion of tremor sense, not cursed, and he used it to save the party from a roving horde of barbarian orcs hunting them on 4 separate occasions. I put them in there to keep the party on their toes, just because they started to get lazy, and the rogue saw them and realized the horde encounter would be a TPK. TLDR, that guy tried to lie to a new DM and gets a cursed medallion. Gets shown he's being that guy and straightens up and ends up being the hero. I think there's a little bit of flaws here and there in this story, but you know what? As long as everybody ended up okay, I'm good too. I knew that player was fudging her rolls because seriously, no one ever rolls that many nat 20s and never rolls low. A lesson needed to be taught. So, for the last year of our campaign, one of the subplots was that player trying to find a high-level sorcerer or wizard who could reverse the effects of a spell that had gone wrong and caused her 2 brothers to be imprisoned in her 2 daggers. Now, I printed out a chart in advance where a nat 1 would have her brothers just disappear and vanish forever, but a 2 would have them return at their normal age, with each successive higher number deleting a year. So, if she rolled another miraculous nat 20, her brothers would return at 2 years old. Toddlers. She rolled a 19. The table erupted when they started complaining about having to go through puberty again because their minds were 20, but their bodies were very small. The resulting improv was delicious as her face fell, realizing that she now has to explain this to her mother, the tiefling crime boss. It was my finest moment as a DM. As a DM, the closest I ever came to having a that guy in my campaign shut himself down for me before we even started. I was running a very heavily homebrewed 5th edition campaign with homebrewed guns, custom classes, a homebrew setting, you name it. The party consisted of a Wendigo, basically, sniper, who was a master of camouflage, a megalomaniac angel who wanted to kill God. Angels were the antagonists of the story, and he went about it in a silly way that still fit with the lore and story. A fallen angel who was trying to keep the angels at bay, and an alcoholic military doctor who had gone AWOL. Either way, I get a friend interested and he wants to join. The issue is we are both gun nuts and discuss the weaponry and such. It eventually gets to the point, though, where he starts asking which class can have an anti-material rifle. Imagine if a sniper was less focused on infantry and more on killing engine blocks and armored equipment. Sure, that is the sniper class. Then he started asking about heavy weaponry. Long story short, in the end he demanded that I let him, at level 1, have a 30mm autocannon, which are large guns meant to destroy armored vehicles, and drive an armored vehicle around. As he continued to push things, I got very hesitant, pointing out how all of this conflicted with the lore. His response, "Oh, this is a good one. You're the DM. It's your job to make it fun for the players." Toxicity. Even after explaining that I, the DM, cannot just give in to his every demand, and that there should be some semblance of a story and cohesive lore which all the players followed, he said, "Then make the story and the lore fit." It couldn't. In the end, he gave me an ultimatum. Give in to his demands or he will leave. My game is not plagued by some random idiot with oversized weaponry from a century in advance that makes no sense in lore. Good man. Not the DM. This was a collective effort by the other players. We were playing Warhammer Fantasy and our dwarf was role-playing his attempt to gain the alcoholism ability. He would pick the absolute worst times to do this. Every time we turned around, he was getting drunk. He ruined social interactions with important NPCs by being belligerent and missed out on combat because, well, he was passed out. At one point, we were so broke that we had to sell the wagon and horses we were using, and surprise, surprise, he was passed out in the back. The buyer pointed it out, and our forger rogue offered to throw him into the deal for free. He wrote up the bill for the sale to legalize the enslavement of the dwarf, and as one final insult, my elf cut off his beard. The dwarf's player sat there stunned before getting up and leaving. The remainder of the campaign went on very well without him. Don't bully a player, just ask them to change their ways. Be polite and communicate, guys. Not as a DM, but a player. The half-elf warlock would always butt in and override my half-elf bard life cleric in any given social situation where I couldn't get in a word at any time. To remedy this, I put my hand on his mouth and I cast Inflict Wounds, dropping him to 1 HP. I was the only healer. We had no potions, and had just finished our long rest. I told him when his tongue learns to be polite, it may be healed. For the rest of the session, we had a 1 HP warlock whose mouth was shredded and was unable to perform any vocal components to spells or speak. After the next long rest, he was much more polite. As I was preparing to DM my first campaign for my D&D group, my family said they would be up for a little one-shot so I could practice. My dad played before when he was younger. My mom and brother never played, but they were up for trying. My mom's druid and my brother's rogue were great, and they really put effort into learning how to play. My dad's fighter, on the other hand, I was doing a pre-written one-shot for 3 4th-level characters. Simple story, clues to follow, varied combat, satisfying ending. My dad's fighter left his weapons in a tavern. I double-checked with him twice that this was what he wanted to do. So, when combat broke out, he spent every turn investigating a weapon stall to find a weapon he actually wanted to use, then kept running away from the bad guys, not the role of a fighter, especially when your only other allies are a druid and rogue, and they're new, putting the others in serious danger. He then wandered off to do his own thing and literally sat in town square to see if an NPC showed up there, all while my mom and my brother's characters were fighting giant spiders in a tunnel because they actually followed easy clues. I had to magically teleport him to the boss battle because the others would have been destroyed, just the 2 of them. He again avoided melee fighting at all costs. I was incredibly annoyed and frustrated, and I could tell how annoyed the others were getting too. I felt really deflated afterwards. Thankfully, my actual players were much better. I have no idea why he pulled that crap, though. I think it's just a dad thing, honestly. They just like pulling stupid goofs and gaffes just to make their, friends' and families' lives harder. I don't know why. They think they're funny, and they're really not. That guy was a grade 10 in my high school D&D club. He had a character whose name was an anagram for machine. And his character's only goal was to live up to that name. Think it might have been min-maxed as well, but the campaign was a combat-focused dungeon crawl anyway. Midway through a dungeon where any attempt to rest would likely meet an ambush, he finds a humanoid encased in ice. He asks me, and I quote, "Is it fuckable?" His character tries to live up to his name despite my suggestions not to. He would then find out that the ice was homebrew armor that had an AoE effect to attempt to freeze anyone nearby, and that the foe had a wand that would also freeze anyone it hits that couldn't pass a high DC con save. Freeze meant incapacitated, and had to be thawed somehow to move again. Unfortunately, this being my first attempt to DM anything, I myself made plenty of mistakes, so the whole campaign was just a train wreck. But I at least tried. I will not be meddling with much homebrew again until I feel more confident running proper 5th edition or 1 D&D. Here's some commentary. This is something that the script guy actually wanted to include for his own edification and for the edification of others. Just want to take a moment to pass along some advice to new DMs. While it sounds fun, and it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to do, please don't start out your DMing career creating homebrew worlds and magic items, especially if you've never played the system you want to run. We here at the channel have seen this same story time and time again. DMs who have never played before and started running our own homebrew and everything, and then wonder why the players just aren't having fun in their combats and why their combats are broken. Now, the script guy actually wanted to mention that in his own experience, he's played with multiple DMs who've started out their careers in this way. Every single one of them has flamed out and given up on DMing entirely since. There's a reason it's hard to find a good DM. It takes more than just good improv skills and funny character voices. In order for your combats to be balanced and challenging for your players, you gotta understand the math of the system. That ain't to say that you can't be successful starting out like this, but it's so much harder than if you start out with a firm foundation to build upon first. A good rule of thumb is to play in at least 3 campaigns as a player before you ever attempt to DM. When you start DMing, run an official module or 2. Most systems like D&D 5th Edition, Pathfinder, and Starfinder all have introductory modules to help both players and DMs learn the basics of the system. If you're looking to run for D&D 5th Edition and you want to do something aside from the starter kit, try some of the modules that were released back when 5th Edition was new, as the newer ones are very, unbalanced and or broken. Or in the case of Strixhaven, there's the plain stupid and won't actually help you learn to DM. Running a game about managing a coffee shop will not help you balance combats. Learn how the system works from both sides, and how the game balance works. Math ain't harder than it looks, and you'll be a lot better off once you let the game designers do the hard work of figuring out and counterbalances for you. Once you've done that, then start homebrewing your own things, and you'll find that your homebrew ends up better once you have that context. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell, and if you have any nerdy friends that haven't played D&D but you want to get them into it, bring them on over. And if you have nerdy friends who are into D&D, well, welcome them on in because we want to meet some new people in here. We love you all. Leave a comment down below letting us know how you've been, and of course, what was the best way you saw a DM shut down that player. Toodaloo, and we'll see you next time.